Hey everybody, it's Andrew Ansley, and today I'm going to show you how to code the beginner's course to using AI to build the things you want. So let's just dive right in. Now, I want to show you that basically the idea here is that AI has made it so easy to code. Well, not easy, but at least manageable. It is much quicker and much more plausible to be able to do this. And not only that, I think there's a lot of things that this means for people. One, automations. You can build automations much easier. You can show proof of concept for anything that you're doing. You can build something that you've always dreamed of building. You can have a side project. You can do website creation. You can just anything and everything. So let's just dive right in. So step one, establish the background context. So what that means is you need to give the AI everything it needs in order to actually process your request. So let's say I want to build something. Well, why do you want to build it? Who are you building it for? What is your budget? And how will this be used? Just all of those sorts of questions. Who's your audience? All of those things. And I have a whole sheet that's just for this. Let me see if I can actually pull some of that out. Yes, I'll show some of this. So you are a skilled software architect and system designer. I need to gather all the necessary information about a project in a simple, non-technical way. Assume the person providing the information may not have the technical expertise, but understands what the project should do and how it should function. Your goal is to guide them step by step so they provide everything the development team needs to build the project successfully. For each question, provide an example response to make the expectations clearer. Include validation questions and iterative checkpoints. So it has all of this stuff, and I create a prompt for this. You create a prompt for your foundation. Next, we identify a robust example. So you can use something called synthetic data, which is when you ask it to create its own examples, or you can get the example yourself. If you get the example yourself, then what you're going to need to do is typically type GitHub. So you'll want, all right, I want a Python tool GitHub or Python scraper GitHub. And then here we go. Obviously my recording screen is not covering this. I would just grab this, right? And then you could download the whole thing. And then you can push that into your coding tool of choice. Mine is Windsurf, as I'll go into. Here is an example. So let's dig in now. We're going to go into the actual step 3 now. So create a user story. This is basically an extension of the background context. You need to list out the things that the user will do in order. So what is the user? They click a button, they log in, they see a dashboard. From the dashboard, they click this thing, like that kind of thing. You describe that. Next is create the file tree using the steps previous in order to create that. So this is the 4-step system in order to actually create the project. And then what you'll do from here is you'll just want to apply some iterative prompting to create what you're doing. Now, it's still going to take a long time. Really, if you aren't a coder, it's just allowing you to kind of code at the proficiency of a normal, like average coder, maybe a little like a junior coder or something. But ultimately, if you have enough time and effort, you can code just about anything. You got to have a mind that can just like deal with boring, though. Tools. Code editor, Windsurf. So code editor is like VS Code. It's anything where you're, that fancy looking screen where it's black and there's a bunch of code. AI companion, you can use OpenAI or Claude, either one. Extensions, you can use Docker. Actually, I'm going to take this. You can use Docker, GitHub, Live Server, specific code libraries, Python. These are just extensions you can download into your tool. And these are the ones that I recommend. Next, we have the files you'll want to add to all projects. You've got your change log, your file tree, project requirements, and then you'll also have specific API docs and examples. So let's move to changelog. Changelog is all notable changes to the project should be documented regularly. So what is added, what was changed, and you'll include what was removed. So I also keep test results in here, and if the file gets to be 600 lines, I would create a part 2. I have not done that here, but as you can see, 423 lines right here. As it gets to 600, I would just basically adjust that. And here, let me move this so you can actually see it a little bit better. Okay, great. So let's take a look at some of this. I'm not going to dig too deep, but let's do an example of my... Here's an example of README, which I've put my entire folder structure here. I've described things. I have my... I want to see what I can actually share without it being terrible for me. Okay, so here's my change log. Here's what I've added. Here are things I've changed. Here are things I've removed or fixed. Security, documentation. I could probably get rid of some of this stuff. And then I've got some initial features right here. So that's all there is to this one. So let me move on. File tree is just a way to make sure that the AI has the overarching understanding or the skeleton of your project. So that's what I showed you just a second ago is the file tree. So it looks like, it can look like a lot of things. Here's one version of a file tree. It's not a true file tree, but it lists out all the files. The README is actually the thing that is containing my file tree. So it looks like this. That is a file tree. Whenever I see that AI can't find something, or I see that it's deleting large chunks of information, I always ask it to refer to the file tree and changelog as contextual reference. So let me show some stuff here. I would just do @ and then I would do my file name, README, and then now I can address basically the content. You'll need to really make sure that it reads, it only reads like 200 lines at a time. So you'll have to ask it, hey, read it again and make sure it's everything. So just keep that in mind. You can do entire directories. You can copy the path as well and then just paste that in and then talk about it that way. If you copy the path, it's this. So that is what I am talking about. Next, changelog, you're doing the same thing. You're just simply creating the @ symbol and referencing it. So project requirements. You have database, auth, user journey, technical requirements, API, security, backend, front end, project overview. So all that's right here. I'm not going to go into that. This video is meant just as a companion for this document. But the idea is you want to structure everything out so that you're actually creating something that can, that's really good. So let me show you. This is exactly the mindset I had when I created my coding tool. So the coding tool, let's just do, here's a sitemap scraper, right? So in my coding tool, I'm not going to even bother with the whole thing, but you can just name your idea, what type of tool you want to create, and you want to specify your own tech stack, and then you can create. And then you get all your docs, your front end. We can actually just view. You can also download, but yeah, I can see like the actual code. So yeah, I'm just going through my file docs and you can see that it's all been created. Backend requirements. Here is models, exclude paths, all this stuff, Django database. So that is all I'm trying to show is I built a tool that does this, but if you want to do this on your own, that's totally fine. You don't have to use the tool. I basically built it to give myself a head start because this process can still take a while. I would say manually it can still take an hour or 2 hours easily. Probably even longer. That's what it takes me, and I've been doing this a while now. So API docs, simple guys. You just want to provide the solution. So you'll just Google Firebase API or Slack API, and grab the information. You can use ChatGPT in order to make sure you have the right docs. Understand your code. So this next piece is so that you can understand just what the code itself means, because a lot of this looks like gibberish and it doesn't need to be gibberish. It can actually be something that is really, really sensical. And if it makes sense, then you can prompt it. So the .md or .json, .py is just the file type. And in your code tool, it'll change the icon of the file based on the file type. Next, you have getgore, which I was always wondering what that was. It is literally just saying don't put these docs, don't launch them into the atmosphere. We don't want them out and about. We have source. This is you'll see this folder that says source, and that's just the majority of your code that makes your project function. AI is a folder that I typically have. In 2025 and beyond, you'll likely have AI components. I just place them here. APIs, the endpoints of your APIs. Config is the configuration of the app, so you manage it using this folder. You'll have more and more files as you have complexity. Schemas contain files that define the structure and rules for your data, like database schemas, API specifications, data models. Serves as a place to organize definitions and easy reference and maintenance. Services is logic for handling the business operations and interactions with the external systems, such as API calls, databases, that kind of thing. Actually, let us make the text large on this one. So utils is small reusable helper functions or modules that provide generic functionality such as formatting dates, manipulating strings, common calculations. Tests is how you actually make sure this works. You're going to have a bunch of test files that use your other files and say, hey, we're going to actually now practice. It's a bunch of file directives or directions for practicing. You'll also likely see pages, which is typically just your front-facing pages. So if you have a SaaS, then or a website, it'll be your actual landing pages. If it's an app, it'll be pages, screens on the app. Assets are just static assets, images, fonts, icons. And subfolder usage, you'll have a lot of subfolders under these, and those are based on, you're grouping it by feature, component, or module that is targeted, and the less complex code doesn't need as many subfolders. Docs, this is going to contain documentation for the code base. I use this folder to hold all of my guidance docs. The scripts are storing automation scripts to help build or deploy the code. So oftentimes you have all of this code, but it needs to be actually built up or compiled, if you will. And that's all that's happening here. Modules, named many things, but a folder that typically exists for installed dependencies. Sometimes it's a virtual environment. And dependencies are libraries of code and packages that you must have to run the project. Here, we're now in the section that's just going through code commands. So all of the code commands, changes directories. So each of these file folders, that is a directory. You can find out the list of your files in a directory by using this command. You can print the current working directory. So if the AI doesn't know where you're at in your terminal, which is that little command line, down here, that's the terminal, this fancy looking thing that's actually much simpler than I originally thought. Touch is just creating empty files. I'm not going to go through all these, but you can create directories, you can create files, remove them. You can install different packages. Typically, if you have a file that just lists the packages you need, it goes through, finds them, and then we'll install them. NPM is a Node package manager. Pip is a Python package manager, and Git is a GitHub command. So you'll see these most often if you're trying to build something, especially in marketing. You're going to typically deal with these. Marketing and sales will generally, if you want to build something custom, that's what this is. Next, we're just breaking those down, the specific commands. A repo is a repository, so you'll always put your code in a repo, and I like to use GitHub. If you've heard the word GitHub, that's all that is. System commands, this is just specific to the entire code ecosystem. Tech stack. So here are the list of technologies that I use. GitHub, that's my preferred platform for my repos. I list out the reasons why, but it basically is just really efficient. And I can ask from within my code to just send it straight to GitHub. So let me do this real quick. It's not going to pip list. I am using Python 3.11. So please take that into account. I would just hit stop, hit go. And now it's going to look at my requirements. Great. You have the correct blah, blah, blah. Cool. And now it is doing the correct installation. So this is why I like Windsurf, which is actually the next tool is going to show. And all I want to show here is that this is an example of it going through like a waterfall of commands. So I don't even remember what it's doing, but we're just seeing now, okay, great, we're doing this here, and then perfect, I can see this for that. I'm not going to accept anything on here right now, but this gives you an example of just how this functions. You're using this, you can ask it to provide you terminal commands, and then you can push them in here, or it can run the terminal commands on its own, whatever you want to do. So that is how that works. So that was Windsurf. It's an agentic IDE, which means that specific AI workflows are created. I believe the agents, there's multiple agents that it has. On my LinkedIn, I actually wrote a newsletter on this, but I'm not going to go into that. My main things are it's context aware, it'll suggest and run commands, multi-file edits, revert to specific points in time. That's really nice. V0. So this is a ChatGPT-like interface that just creates stuff in real time. So obviously there's stuff that you still need to do to be able to deploy this and make it go live, but the idea is you're just going to continually work through whatever you want. So let's do V0. And now I'm going to say something like create a chat GPT-like interface for prompting. I want people to be able to create folders to store past conversations. Great. So now it's going to go, and I'm just showing you a quick command. This is V0 stands for version 0. This would be version 0 or version 1. It's me creating the actual app right now. What's nice is it's actually creating all of the folders and stuff. It used to not do this. So this is a new enhancement that they added. So that's pretty great. And basically, I don't want to close the file tree. We'll let it go, and then I'll show you the preview of what this looks like. So I'm not doing a thing, right? Keep in mind when you're using V0, there's a lot of things. It makes it look really easy, but there's still stuff to do. Okay, great. So as you can see, let's do this, and then we'll just add this here. Perfect. So as you can see, we don't have any functionality, but you can actually hit deploy with for sale and go straight there. Open a new tab, cool, and I can type right here and send it. AI response. So it's basically just giving the demo. So right now I would say, all right, here's what I've done so far. And now I would just say, okay, I need to actually create the folder, and you're just going to iterate, and then you'll create what you need to create. So this is V0. That's all I want to show you with V0. Let's go back. ChatGPT, I use this for a couple of tasks, and basically the O1 model is perfect for initial project requirements, but it takes so long to respond. Typically, I'll start with V0 and then VO, and then I'll do O1 to edit and refine. So I like it, ChatGPT, because I typically want one side of my screen just to be ChatGPT, and the other side of my screen to be my actual code. So that's all I'm doing, and I'll just ask it questions about the code. So, I'll have, let's actually use this as the example. Let's use this as the example. So now what I want to show is I would look at the code, and then I could copy the code, and then I would ask questions to ChatGPT. Now, if the code is in my coding tool, whatever coding tool I'm in, I'm copying the code, and I'm talking to ChatGPT. And I can ask it here too, and I could toggle and just say chat instead, and then I'm chatting and it'll tell me. But that's the idea, is you just want to have clean context, and sometimes O1 is just a much better model to just simply solve a problem. And I'll ask it to solve the problem, and then what I might do is I'll say, hey, what are documents or like API references, something like that, that could potentially impact your recommendations because your knowledge is like 9 months old. So you're kind of living in the past. And then it'll tell me, and then I might get that information and then give it to the AI. Now, here is a huge one, guys, and I learned this from, I forgot the guy's channel. It's like AI Coder something something. Let me find it because I do want to make sure that you guys, or that I credit this dude. AI Coding Aider. He does a lot with Aider, so I'm hoping that maybe I can find it. AI Code King, I think. It was either him or it was Indie Dev Dan. So I like Indie Dev Dan and I like AI Code King. I don't know who I'm crediting here, but I'm just letting you guys know that both of them are people that I recommend. And I got this prompt where I'd already do this with Content Sprout, so I needed to find a good format for my code. So this is the format. You want purpose, and it's just like HTML, right? It's like XML. So you you ask, you might give it the problem, and then what you say is, hey, I have this problem. Here's the format. I need you to, we're going to approach this where it's just like one problem at a time, and we want to break up that problem into 3 instructions and something like that, and then go. And then I paste this into my code editor, and then it goes to town. Next, I use Firebase and Google Cloud, all sorts of Google Cloud stuff, but I use Google Cloud Run, Google Cloud Build, and Firebase. So Firebase is just your project requirements. It's going to be like just everything that you generally need in order to, let's do this. Go to console. I'll just show you real quick. Personal assistant, and then, okay, great. So next we have authentication, storage, and hosting. So these are basically the 3 things you'll use. You store and retrieve user-generated content here. You deploy web apps in seconds. This is user identity with 10 lines of code. You might do, oh yeah, you also want Firestore database. So yeah, that's kind of how it works, guys, is you're just enabling these things. It's super easy to do. I'm not doing a full guide on how to do this here. I'm just showing you that these are the things I like. Stripe, no questions here, guys. It's just really good. You want to prioritize things that are fast. Vercel, this is really easy to deploy things, and it plays really nice, obviously, with Vercel's v0. So, and it's really easy with Next.js. I think they probably had a hand in developing that language or something. But yeah, I like easy stuff. A veteran coder will prefer something that's probably better, but what's best for me is cheap and fast, and what's best for my clients is cheap and fast, because what they want is typically either a micro SaaS, which is something below 300 users typically, or it's just for their team, and they might just want something where they don't have to pay, I don't know, when you have your whole team on a really good tool, it's like $200 a month for stuff. So what if you could just, and it's generalized. So what if you could build the exact thing you want, have something for your clients that is, that they are super impressed with. Hey, we built this custom solution. And basically you get everything you need, and it just makes your life so much easier, and you don't pay this monthly fee. It's like really, really negligible. And within a year, you've definitely paid off your investment, depending on what you're building. But yeah, I'd say that's a huge one. You can automate all sorts of stuff. Reweb is a tool for basically coding. It's a visual code editor for Next.js. So I really like this because I use v0 mixed with this. Now, I will say that if you hit add a section and in here, what ends up happening is it will tell you, hey, here's how to translate a v0 prompt into, or code into here. That it's not accurate, so you'll have to develop your own. I have one in my school community, and I share that in there. But yeah, that's what this tool's for. You don't need it, once again, but it is nice to be able to just, instead of coding through a little box all the time, a visual code is nice. So let's go here. Lastly is my coding philosophy. So Core principle, build tools quick and cheap. Initial focus, professional quality, potential for scaling. Strategy, invest more as you gain traction on resources. My dev environment setup is ChatGPT. My code environment's on the right, and I have constant back and forth iteration. My prep is collect comprehensive API docs, gather all reference materials, prepare for different coding scenarios. My AI-assisted coding strategy is scaffolding the initial project structure. I have code reviews, refactoring, and improvement, where every time I'm coding something, if there's a lot of changes, if I see a lot of like a green number that says plus or red numbers, and it starts to get to about 100, I'm usually going to I'll say, hey, add to the changelog, add to whatever I need to add to, and then I'll say push to GitHub, and then it'll go through the process. Version control, so that's GitHub. Update the file tree, use AI-assisted GitHub commands. Development mantra, continuous iteration, incremental improvement, and flexible and adaptive approach. So lather, rinse, repeat. And I've gone pretty fast because I wanted to get this under 30 minutes. So we have key takeaways. Start small and scalable. Leverage AI tools effectively. Document everything. We have prioritize your version control. I kid you not, just take a break and do your version control. Stay flexible and iterative. Next, this document has a crap ton of stuff, guys. It's a calendar link in order to consult with me. It's got all my socials. It's got the article I wrote on, at first it was ranked number 1. I don't think it is anymore, but it's I unpack Google's algorithm leak, and I even create my own little formula for it. Entity SEO, that is ranked number 1. So entities is like natural language processing, and kind of like it started with BERT back in 2018 and RankBrain. And really what happened with entities, it has transformed the environment to what we're experiencing today. It was the catalyst, in my opinion, with AI. Presentations, how anyone can generate traffic and build a brand with SEO. The Prompt Chain Framework Bible, this is how to talk to AI. This is using data analysis to support SEO marketing spend, the VC funding strategy, and client upsell strategy. Got some YouTube videos with AI. This is how I create social media content. This is how I create Google ads. Here's my website, which we're deploying to future.agency. Here is my SaaS, contentsprout.ai. One-click SEO content and topic research. So yeah, that's it, guys. Hopefully this was helpful. If you have any questions, ask in the comments. Feel free to ping me. Once again, I don't know if I'm giving this document outside of the school group. I might, so if it is in the description of this YouTube video, then great. But for now, let's just stop here. Thanks, guys. Hopefully this is helpful.